Let's have a look at some Wharncliffes. Wharncliffes, 1, 2, 3. One is made by me. This one is made by Brad Zinker. And this one is made by Northwoods GEC. The blade stock for this knife came from a Stanley chisel, like this one, of a slightly thinner profile. They made 3 spec of these chisels, 1 inch, 3/4, and a 1/2 inch. This is a 3/4 inch. It has a full convex grind, so the thickness behind the edge is the thickness of this here. We have some bone bolsters with paper and cotton t-shirt micarta liners / spacers, 3 lilac pins, walnut handle, which is a clamshell. If you look very closely, you may be able to see the join. I'm not sure whether it's coming through. Difficult to see, but this was split in half and then joined. And a bone bolster. I had an accident where I was testing the retention on the sheath and it flew out of the sheath and bounced off the floor of this, and the knife was fine. So it is solid enough to bounce off the floor. This, similarly to what Captain Electro requested, is a 3-inch Wharncliffe made in the USA fairly recently. Not as recently as this one, but it's very futuristic in design. Skeletonized to the max titanium handle. It's a front flipper. I am so thankful that it does not have a flipper tab. I can't stand them. They get in the way. And a compound grind. So me, a sucker for a Wharncliffe, a sucker for a compound grind. I saw this thing online and I simply couldn't live without it. And it is a very fine knife. It has some lock stick that I have to resolve. And this is similar to this in that it is a Wharncliffe fixed blade. Pocket fixed blade with a handy sheath. No attachment method provided, so that just goes in your pocket or in your briefcase or what have you. And that's a kudu horn on the handle there. There's a name for that escutcheon. I don't think it's the official name, and I'm not going to name it. But those of you who have a filthy imagination can figure it out if you haven't already heard. So, comparative study time. I just thought it would be interesting to look at the weight of these, since they are everyday carry knives, and weight is a consideration. So this scale is a little finicky. Let's see how it works. So we're getting 1.3 ounces. It's a very light knife. Now this skeletonized titanium hollow ground weighs 1.4. It weighs slightly more than the knife. Now, of course, the knife has the sheath, so we'll weigh that with the sheath in a second. And that's a 1.9. So when you consider the length of the handle and the length of the blade, by comparison, of course it is rather a chunky blade. But I have whittled with this, and it's nice, it's fun. It's a lovely, beautiful knife. but there's no comparison with how this fills your hand and how it cuts. And so if we, excuse me, I'll just sit down again and we can look at the sheath. So I carved a scabbard out of balsa wood, basically carved, as it were, this, or something like this shape, and then what I'm covering up I filled in with another piece, and then I super glued this on, just pressing it on like that, thinking, well, I'll cover it in leather and it'll have epoxy, and the epoxy will be binding this to the leather, so and to the balsa via that thin layer of epoxy, so it'll be strong. And that is strong, but it bothered me because of the testing the retention. I had this and I was shaking it, and I whipped it. I actually, and so that caused it to come flying out, and this bounced off the floor, as I explained. Well, that made me think, well, what if this bounces off the floor? It could happen, and then if it bounces off the floor, the super glue is brittle, and it could cause that to fail. So I put a pin in there, a lilac pin. And because there was only space for one pin, really, I figured I'd make it an odd-shaped pin so that there is no possibility of rotation, right? So that is, it's a solid sheath, and it has a magnet there for retention. So now the knife has engaged, the tip of the blade has engaged with the magnet. You can just see the shape of it there, maybe the well. It's encrusted into the balsa wood. And so there it releases, right? Up until that point, the magnet is resisting it being pulled out. So it has very good retention. What more can I say about this knife? I love it. It's great. And I'm glad that I'm going to send it out to Captain Electro, and he's going to whittle cool stuff with it. And actually, this is my second time around with making this video, because it cut, the camera cut. And I was ranting the first time around, so it's good that it cut. I'm not very good at keeping my thoughts compact and what have you, unless I'm making it short. But this being long format, I suddenly started doing a pocket dump, and I thought, well, I'm going to do the pocket dump. And my justification for the pocket dump is to say, weight is a consideration for me, because I carry quite a lot of knives. And so what I said was, well, I'm not carrying that many knives on me today, but let's just have a look. And as it turns out, I am actually carrying a fair few knives in my pockets and on me. Right? So, starting some of them are like everyday carry, and some of them I just happen to have on me. That's the thing. So, starting in the left pocket, every day I carry this. I don't use it every day, but I'm glad when I want it, it's available, and I just love to keep it on me. It's a race knife. Have you ever seen one of these? Pocket Knife Therapy had one recently, a video on one. So it's like a scope. It's got some sand in it or something. So that says Rogers. Marples, beg your pardon. W.M. Marples, Sheffield. And so you use this for marking trees or for marking wood in various ways. So I can use it out in the woods, for example, to put arrows and signs on trees or what have you, to mark paths, or to say, I want to cut this tree down or what have you. And now listen to the snap on this thing. So there you go. And that already probably weighs whatever, 2-3 times as much as this. And in continuation, in the left pocket, we also have this German Wharncliffe and this Imperial that I picked up in the consignment store. Now this guy, whoever owned this, he liked a compound grind with a recurve as well. Yeah? I believe this is a muskrat blade, but look at that. Thinned out here, a little thicker there. And my nails are all already broken, so I may not be able to even get this one. It's rough. It is rough. I gotta get it somehow. Give me a second. Here we go. That'll do. Yeah. Hey, that's a toothy edge, right? With the recurve. I love it. And this German Wharncliffe is interesting. It has a chisel grind. So I thought I might use that in the garden for something very delicate, you know, something even more delicate than I would use a hawkbill, which is coming up. Which is coming up because over to the right pocket, we have this, my pride and joy. Look how straight that is. You never find a hawkbill that has this little warp in it, in my experience. And I collected a few by now. Hawkbill video incoming. But yeah, this would be probably the pride and joy of the collection, minus the snap, which is weak sauce. It's not really a snap, it's a tick. And then in the watch pocket, Frost Cutlery, Seiki Japan, Baby Lockback. What can I say? Super cool little knife, very handy. All kinds of uses for that kind of thing. And it whittles like you wouldn't believe. So moving up into the waistcoat, left waistcoat pocket. That's the breast pocket. We got the Jerry Moen Mini Mongoose. Yeah? Let's just check this out. I'm definitely getting an affinity. All right? Nothing new under the sun. Except the Scolder triphasic grind. In the right waistcoat pocket, well, this is a blade. Possibly the sharpest blade in my collection. The William Collins Rescue Survival Tool. This is a zero grind micro hawkbill in, I'm pretty sure it's nitro AEBL steel, and he ultra hardens it. He hardens it extra, whence it is able to be sharper than anything. And it's an excellent hone. and you know, you pop your beer with it or whatever. And that, oh, and then on my belt, this thing. Tell me what you think about that. I made a ridiculous short video about it today as well. This is very lightweight. Let's weigh this one. Let's weigh some more stuff, huh? We've got a scale. Be a little scientific about it. Well, what do you know? Let's try that again. There you go. 1.7. Yeah, well, this is going to be my everyday carry for a while, I reckon. Who knows how long. But this is my point. My point is a light knife like this. You're carrying it around your neck, under your shirt. You won't know it's there. And when knives are light and small like this, you can have so many different knives, so many different uses. Today, I've used this one. I've used this one. I probably used this to hone. Didn't use that. Well, I think I've ranted enough, but it's an emotional moment for me, you know, kind of launching something here with the chisel knives. I want to make more. I want to get them out there. And so hopefully this will generate some interest. And of course, I do hope that Captain Electro likes the knife and that he gives it a positive review overall. But I want any constructive criticism or whatever criticism. Come at me. Because I need it. Because I need to get better. Big time. Better, faster, more knives.